We're going to start with March Madness. The NCAA tournament is fully underway and 2 rounds down. We are already down to the final 16 teams. A couple upsets have happened so far, such as Wisconsin beating Villanova 62-65 and South Carolina beating Duke 88-81. If those two didn't bust half the brackets in the country, then there is not going to be
seemingly intact.
Yes.
I actually happened to be out on Saturday at a bar, Misconduct in the city, and when Villanova lost, and that place was packed. The second that I walked in there, Villanova loses. There's like 5 people left in there.
Oh man,
this city was upset. Or if you're a Temple fan, was very happy.
I'll be honest, and I'm going to put this on the record. There's a couple people that when they give their location about where they're at near Philadelphia, they say, "Oh, I'm from Philly." Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Villanova is not Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm going to yell about it, and I'm sorry.
One of the western suburbs here.
They have bike lanes. Their sidewalks are bleached white, essentially. There's no gum anywhere on the floor. Villanova's campus is probably immaculate.
Right.
The police presence is probably a lot less than what I have here, which we hear every week.
Certainly is no Philadelphia, no West Philadelphia. That's for damn
sure.
And
let me be clear. It's Radnor Township.
Yeah.
Radnor. Villanova is from Radnor. Although they're much better representative of Philadelphia basketball than is Temple, LaSalle,
right,
or Drexel. Or any of the City 6 schools, Penn, and then Villanova's are 6th, but they're not even in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider University City part of Philly, which I do, you know what I mean? But, okay. I'm actually going to talk about March Madness now instead of my madness. So moving on, we have 8 games left. It's a Sweet 16, which means 16 teams are left. The next 8 games are as follows. In the East, we have 8-seed Wisconsin versus 4-seed Florida and 3-seed Baylor versus the 7-seed South Carolina Gamecocks. In the Midwest, it is going to be number 1 Kansas versus number 4 Purdue and number 3 Oregon versus 7-seed Michigan. The South will feature 1-seed UNC Tar Heels versus the Butler Bulldogs, the 4-seed Bulldogs, and 2-seed Kentucky Wildcats will be taking on Lonzo Ball and the 3-seed UCLA Bruins. And last but not least, the West will showcase 1-seed Gonzaga versus 4-seed West Virginia, go Mounties, and 2-seed Arizona taking on 11-seed Xavier. What you can say is, and what I want to talk about for a minute is people are they don't have a lot of faith in the selection committee. When you have all your 1 seeds go to the Final Four, that typically means that the selection committee did a good job at knowing who were the 4 top teams.
Right.
Or at least the top teams in 4 different divisions. So when you see a Final Four with 4 1 seeds, that's great. But what we often don't see is reeling it back, talking about what happens in between 16 and 1. And a team like Wisconsin, an 8-seed Wisconsin, a lot of people are saying isn't that much of an 8 seed. There's an article on ESPN that actually redid the seeding in the Sweet 16, and they had thrown it all different ways.
Yeah. It's just hard to.
And I agree with some of it.
Yeah, it's hard to measure all of that out. I mean, you got 68 teams at the beginning, or not? You have 64 teams at the beginning, and then another 8 in the first 4 games. So they call it. So it's really hard to measure that out. Wisconsin, though, I mean, if you saw the way they played Nova, would you give them an 8 seed? I know you said you wouldn't. I also don't think so. Because
I'm looking at now, again, different, what am I talking about? Different divisions, I get it, but like a 4-seed Purdue to me is not as good of a team as 8-seed Wisconsin.
Right.
Wisconsin is just one of those perennial things, kind of like the Patriots, the Wildcats, the Villanova Wildcats. There's just some teams that every year, no matter who's on their roster, it's all about the hierarchy and who's controlling the scholarships and the player signings and all that stuff, which to me is the most important thing if you're going to build out. West Virginia, we see them here every year.
Yeah.
In contention. At one point in this year, I think they were the number 1 team in the country, AP poll. And so I grant it that they've been correct with the number 1 seeds going as far as they have so far, but it disadvantages teams like the Wildcats, who 2 years in a row now, or not 2 years in a row, but 2 out of 3 years has lost in the second round. And that's almost unacceptable, especially if you're going to say you're from Philadelphia.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fun run though so far.
It has been. It really
not
has
as many
been.
upsets until this past round.
Yeah.
And the Sweet 16 is going to be interesting. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, because we don't really have too much disparity between the seeds. I mean, an 8-4, 3-7, 1-4, 3-7, 1-4, 2-3. The biggest one is 2 Arizona and 11 Xavier. That's the largest seeding disparity so far. But I mean, 1 seed, 4 seeds, which there's no upset there really.
Right.
In a sense, if West Virginia beats Gonzaga, no one's gonna cry.
Right.
You know, well, unless it's your bracket getting busted. But other than that,
mine was busted. Mine was
right
busted
away
before Duke got out yesterday, and it's even more busted.
Grayson Allen, his draft stock is low.
I mean, nobody wants the diva. I know he was still. I believe I was talking to my roommate Andy, and he's a big Duke fan, as you know, and I think he said Grayson Allen is still projected late first round, and I'm assuming maybe second round
I heard mid second round.
Yeah.
What you might have been talking about with Andy was,
and this was prior to March Madness.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, last year, if he would have went to the draft last year, he was averaging over 20 points a game.
Right.
He would have been a solidified 15 to 25 first-round pick. Definitely a mid-rounder, probably not a lottery pick. Going to which, I guess, if I'm that type of player, I want to be in that range because that's where your competitors are really at.
Right.
You're not going to the Sixers, where they won't compete at least for another 2 seasons. But I'm excited. Do you have any predictions or anything that you're excited about with March Madness other than just having basketball on all weekend long for 3 weeks in a row?
I had UCLA in my championship game. I still would like to see that. Of course, I had them against Nova, which turned out to be a flop. But I would like to see UCLA go. Other than that, there's not any teams that I'm super rooting for. I think Gonzaga is an underrated number 1 seed. So I'd like to see them to continue to go. They were certainly the number 1 seed that you thought would fall off first. Out
of UNC, Kansas, Gonzaga, and Wildcats, that's
right.
the 4th of correct. Yeah, I agree with that.
So I could definitely I would like to see them go a little further. But yeah, I mean it's just nonstop basketball right now, which is always fun.
Always fun.
Yeah, this weekend was crazy watching the games.
And like I said, with this one, you see whose draft stock rises and whose falls. Frank Mason, I don't know if it's junior or the 3rd from Kansas, Jayhawks. With his performance, I see him moving up in the draft stock, and guys like Grayson Allen are moving down. And I love to see where Lonzo Ball finishes his tournament because to the Lakers, has the lottery been?
I don't think they've chosen it yet. They do choose it a little bit further down the line.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting, especially with his, the whole
LA Lakers thing.
Hubbub with his dad going crazy with this whole one-on-one matchup against Charles Barkley, yada, yada. Stupid BS, in my opinion.
It's actually something I don't even really care to talk about much. I'm here to talk about Lonzo Ball because he's an on-the-court player.
Yeah.